6:30 p.m. and I would like to call to order and open the meeting, the Select Board meeting of July 27th, 2021. I was reminded in a webinar that I watched recently that I'm supposed to be making a lot more announcements because this is a Zoom meeting. So
listening to the meeting.
I didn't write it all down, but I think we know that it's being recorded. We know that we're going to take roll call votes, and we have present here on the board myself, Catherine Harrison, Gary Cheeseman, Diane Bucco. We have as well our recording secretary, Catherine Tinsley, our town administrator, Ryan Ferrara, and acting as the host, Jackie Bresnahan. So I think that's pretty much everything I was supposed to have been saying all these times that I didn't. With that, we'll move into our agenda. As always, the first item on our agenda is public input. And I know that we have at least one guest who's here scheduled to speak to an agenda item. Pretty sure Pat Waddell will be speaking later in the meeting. But is there anyone who wishes to make a comment or ask a question in the public input section? If so, please put your name in the chat and we will recognize you. Not wanting to rush. It's always that balance. Do you see anyone in the chat? Okay. If someone, I guess I should say this all the time, we try to wait a few moments for people to be aware. If there is someone who's sitting here and has an expectation that they were going to make a comment and we pass them by because of our timing, I'm happy to recognize that person when that person at an appropriate time. But we'll move on for tonight. As always, the first thing that we have, or the second thing that we have on our agenda, are announcements. There are a few, and I'll turn that over to Ryan. Ryan, if you would share the announcements with us, that would be great.
I was muted. Okay. So as a reminder to those watching, present in the meeting, that we've got board and committee openings, and we're asking that you submit your letter of interest in serving on our appointment for any open appointments. And you can see this on our town webpage under volunteer opportunities, or by sending an email to the attention of the select board at admin@wenhamma.gov. So currently we've got openings on the audit committee, community preservation committee, council on aging, the Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, Iron Rail Commission, and WISH Committee. So if anyone has any interest or questions about that, we can also point you to the appropriate people on those committees to talk to them about what that commitment is in terms of time and topic. And again, we try to keep an open door here and to encourage as many people as possible to participate. So that's our announcements for board and committee meetings. Next thing is that Wenham Museum Fair is taking place on Saturday, July 31st from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wenham Museum, located at 132 Main Street, right across from Town Hall. So we're asking you all to consider joining us for our annual summer fair, including food, entertainment, and many vendors. And if the board votes in the affirmative, there will also be alcohol too. So from a brewery in Beverly as well. So another thing to help enjoy the time there. Okay. Reminder that we're having a tire collection event on Saturday, August 7th from 9 to 1 p.m. at the DPW Garage. Just a reminder that we're only allowing passenger vehicle tires without rims here. So, and just as a reminder, we do this in partnership with the Northeast Massachusetts Mosquito Control Project as a way to reduce environs for mosquitoes in the breeding ground that provides for. So. As a reminder, everybody, we're also still accepting summer internships, and I believe we're also, Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, we're also doing a fall internship. So if anyone is interested in the community and working, as a student for town government, please let us know, and you can apply to see some of the descriptions on our town website, www.wenhamma.gov. /for jobs to see some of the position descriptions and how you can apply. I was going to put our plug in for our Citizens Leadership Academy. It's coming up in the fall 2021. So this is our opportunity to inform residents about all the different things that we do. I think sometimes when we have these conversations with folks, they're always surprised to see just how much town government is involved in, and some of those. But we also want to try to demystify some of those complexities, and hopefully get people more interested in participating in town government. That's our end objective. We work for residents, and we want to make sure that they, that they can see, look under the hood, if you will, and see what we're doing. So registration's open. This is our fourth Citizens Leadership Academy. And we encourage you to go up on our website, learn some more about it, and looking probably that this will be taking place between September to December on Wednesday evening. So we hope to get the schedule posted soon, either by the end of late July or early next month. Okay.
For those announcements, and we'll just slide right into your town administrator report, Ryan. I know we
Sure.
know you were on vacation last week.
Right.
But
I can tell
maybe
you
you have a few things.
I can tell you about the weather in Maine, right? Yes, maybe that. But one of the key things that's transpired here in town was, as many of you seen the media reports about the removal of the flags, both at the Wenham Museum and at the church across the street. So just wanted to make the board aware that the police department is still investigating the matter. They actually added some patrols to the area in the nights after the removal of those flags. They are also working with both property owners for other measures to be put in place to ensure that the flags that have been replaced stay in place. This may be a bit tricky for the police department to determine who the perpetrator was in this case, but I think it's also a reminder for all of us that acts of hate can happen anywhere. And I am proud of how the police department has responded to this, as well as the entire community, because I think we strive for being here, no place for hate, and it's important that if to be able to understand this and understand that this affects many people. So we take it seriously, and we are still, again, the PD is still investigating the matter. It's still an open matter, but in the interim, we again are working with the two property owners to ensure that if there is any further issues, that they'll be protected under those circumstances. So just wanted to provide the board with an update on that. And as you said, Catherine, I was out last week, so there really isn't much more else to report. Just kind of getting back up to speed and working with Jackie on a number of things, but not much else to report to you on that end. So.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I just have one thing for the chair's report, and it's along the line of something to think about. Something to think about. So the way our meeting schedule is shaping up, and we'll talk about it at the end of the meeting, but the way it's shaping up, we have a meeting next Tuesday, which is August 3rd, and then nothing scheduled for a variety of very good reasons until after Labor Day. And at that point, we hope to schedule a workshop, a goal-setting workshop for the board. I'd ask the board to please think about the idea of having sort of a part one short workshop before sort of late next week that really is with an eye to looking at the tasks, issues that we have that are short term that are before us, and perhaps just spending a couple of hours, maybe even on Friday morning, to talk about those, and sort of amongst the three of us with Ryan, set some priorities and some ideas of what we think are more pressing than others. So I'll just ask you to think about that at the end when we get to the other matters. We'll be talking about meeting dates, but I think it might be useful for us to just spend a little time talking about, and for Ryan to report to us the, I'm sure, myriad of things that are going on, and to help maybe shape in what order or what we feel are most important to us. So my only other comment is I would like to congratulate, or kudos, I guess, to Chief DiNapoli, who did the police force has done a great job in respect to what Ryan was telling us about. They're taking it very seriously, but I was proud to have Chief DiNapoli speaking on behalf of the town at our press conference. He just did a really great job, I think, with the right tone, giving the right information. So thanks to him and everyone else who's been helping with that situation. So we have select board members report, and we have some recognition. And Gary, you okay handling that recognition? It was exciting.
Yeah, certainly be my privilege. A week ago, Friday now, on the 16th of the month, we had a very special event at the community house where we recognized Troop 28 and with the town's congratulations to not one, two, but actually 3 Eagle Scouts in Troop 28. So special congratulations to Owen Bailey, Charlie Mayer, and Christopher Mayo for the many years of effort they put into achieving that Eagle rank, and to follow on in the scouting and character building and the leadership that they saw. Also would mention that it was really great to see Senator Bruce Starr and Representative Brad Hill in attendance as well. So it was quite an event. I think, Catherine, what would you say, about 70 or 80 people at the community house for that? So yeah, so it was well attended and very good recognition, and well deserved to the 3 new Eagle Scouts. Congratulations.
Ditto on that. The Scoutmasters did a great job. It was a lovely event. It was nice to see folks coming together again, especially for the purpose of honoring these 3 young men who clearly have worked pretty hard to get that number of badges on their sash and do all the work they needed to do. Any other select board reports? Diane, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I would just like to add a special thank you to the Eagle Scouts. They've done a great job. They're very great role models for our youth. Specifically, Charlie and Christopher did work for the WVIS playground. And I just wanted to send out another thank you from that department, because they did a great job on the benches and the tables.
Great. They do good work, and it's work that oftentimes wouldn't get done unless they volunteered and brought in their volunteers to help. So thanks. Okay, the next thing, as Ryan alluded to on our agenda, I guess we have nothing on the consent agenda today, but we can move to new business. And the first thing on new business is a request for a 1-day liquor license for the Wenham Museum Summer Fair. We have the packet and the information in the packet. I guess perhaps, I think I saw Kristen is here. If you'd like to speak to that for just a second, Kristen, then I'll turn it over to Ryan if he has any administrative comments. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yes, the Wenham Museum Summer Fair is this Saturday, the 31st, from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. We have approximately 30 vendors participating, as well as a face painter, for the kids. And we have a visiting award-winning children's book author and illustrator who's also coming to sign books at 10:30. Her name is E.B. Goodale, and she's based out of Somerville. And as we have in many years past, we have invited a few food trucks, and also a local brewery to participate to run a small beer garden on the Wenham Museum's property. We usually situate that on the small gravel parking area that is part of our front lawn. As in years past, we've reached out to Wenham Police and we've coordinated a detail for the intersection of Monument Street and Route 1A, as well as a separate detail officer for the beer garden. We provide, tables and seating, and we also, cordon off the area with signage, letting folks know that if they do, purchase a beer, it's to be consumed in that area so that they're not wandering around, the town hall lawn or the rest of our lawn, with their beverage. We have had a little bit of difficulty actually securing a brewery this year, just I think with so many changes in operations in the restaurant and food service industry. Not everyone has had the staffing or what have you available to help support this event, but Old Planters out of Beverly, Mass was more than happy to come and participate. So as noted on the PowerPoint slide, we have everything we need from them, except there has been some ongoing conversation with them and their insurance agent about the appropriate level of coverage. We are going to be able to, I hope, rectify that within the next 24 hours to get the right levels of coverage and to provide the certificate of insurance that's needed to the town. So my thought would be that we would, serve beer in the afternoon from about noon to 3. I expect they will be on site a bit earlier than that, setting up, a table and cooler and all that type of thing. But we'll start serving at noontime. Their other food truck vendors will be there for the duration of the day. But the brewery would be for the afternoon. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that or about the event in general that anyone may have.
Does the board have any questions for Kristen? No. Ryan, is there anything else you'd like to add to this administratively?
I think actually Kristen hit on it. There's we're still looking to get some additional insurance per the select board rules. And we think we should be able to get that such that the draft motion reflects that.
Pending receipt. Okay. Is there any other comments before? If not, Gary will take a motion, I guess.
Right. I move to approve the one-day liquor license for the Wenham Museum for Saturday, July 31st from 12 noon to 3 p.m. at 132 Main Street with Old Planters Brewing Company, pending receipt of updated insurance from the Wenham Museum.
Second.
Any last bit of conversation or questions or comments? If not, we'll take a vote. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. I think it's really nice that we're helping out a local vendor as well with everything, but particularly it's nice to be able to reach out to someone local. So pending that insurance information, I guess it's all set, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. I will circle back with Jackie tomorrow on that, and I hope you're all able to swing by and say hello and enjoy the fair. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've already gotten my orders from my daughter at the time we're going, so
That's good.
I'll be there. We missed a couple of years of it, so there's a little pent up demand for that.
Good.
Yeah. So the next thing on our agenda is Coast to the Cure for NF, for the NF bike race, use of public roads. For folks that are wondering, NF is neurofibromatosis. It's a pretty debilitating neurological disease. This is a race that has occurred on our roads before, as I have been trying to do. I'll turn it over to Ryan and the staff to give us any backup information that we may need to make this decision.
Sure. As you said, Catherine, this has been going, this bike ride's been going on for a number of years. I believe this is the 10th year that the race has been going on. In a prior community, I had the good fortune of meeting the mother of who had actually, her son had passed away due to NF, and her family established this race. And it's really quite an inspiring story to develop a fundraiser, which I think they have the different routes are 24, 40, 66, and 100 miles that they have for different different bike riders to participate in this event. And it's a really impressive organization and effort they put in to make this happen. And so it's really an honor to have them even be going through the community. And we just strongly recommend the board approving the use of public roads for this race.
And it looks like we have all of the required information or approvals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Gary, Diane, do you have any comments or questions on this? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Gary?
Yeah, just that we need bystanders come out of the homes and cheer on these racers as they go by.
Yeah, good point. I think the weather's supposed to be nice, which would be fortunate for everyone. If there are no further comments, we'll take a motion, Gary, please.
Right. Move to approve the use of Grapevine Road and Larch Row on Saturday, September 11th from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
Unless we're for their further questions, we'll proceed to a vote on this or comments. Diane,
Yes.
Gary, your vote?
Yes.
Catherine, yes. It is a very good cause, and it's always a very well done race. So what do we have now? Oh, we have further appointments. I'd like to say this is the end of the appointments, but I think that it is the end of the appointments for which we have candidates. I may be wrong about that, but we have appointments for 3 different positions tonight, and we'll leave those motions to you, Gary, and then we could talk about them after if we need to.
All right. So first one, move to appoint Keith Carter as the burial agent for a term beginning July 27th, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Ryan, I think we have someone from the Cemetery Commission on the meeting, but is there anything that you'd like to comment on this particular one?
Not in this case. No.
Okay. And I think Bill Wilson is here. Would you like to give us a little background?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my video to work here.
We can hear you, and we can hear the thunder. Hey, Bill.
Even better, yeah. So we've had this open burial agent position since April, since Mr. Wiles left there, and Keith has been acting as the interim since that time, doing a great job, I might add. The job was posted as per policy, and we did receive one application, which was from Keith. And we reviewed the qualifications, and he is fully qualified. The interesting thing is that he's been doing this for 10 years, and he's been the understudy to Mr. Wiles and Mr. Hughes, which is great. You just can't get that type of knowledge. That's a walk-in type person. Right. We queried him on his knowledge in a personal interview that I had him in March, April timeframe. He understands sale of lots. He understands working with Trudy and all the documentation required. He understands the grave prep and the way it's done mechanically. He knows how to do Memorial Day and has just done the past Memorial Day with the flowers. And he's available for 24/7, which is probably the most important part of that. So the committee has met him on various occasions and had great reviews. We met on the 13th of July to discuss it in committee and review his performance and his qualifications. And by roll call vote, he was approved for nomination for the Wenham burial agent by a vote of 3-0. So we're all on board. He's great.
Questions I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that he's doing such a great job, and he's working in concert with DPW, and he's a foreman with DPW. So that's the only thing we have to manage, those two things: his job, his day job at DPW, and the requirements of the cemetery. I spoke with Bill about that, Bill Tyak, today, and we agreed that we need to do that.
Right. Anyone have any questions or comments for Bill or on this topic? No. thank you, Bill, for spending the time with this gentleman. It's a kind of an unusual appointment in that it is does require a certain amount of expertise or knowledge. So to have someone who's been doing this for a while in our town and is willing and able to step in is an advantage.
Yeah, the two parts are the grave burials themselves with the equipment and so forth, but more importantly, and Diane knows this, the documentation, the books, the burial books, the deeds, all that stuff, how you work hand in glove with the clerk. It's a lot of work, and he knows how to do it, and that's great. It'll be great for Trudy going forward. Great.
So I think we had a motion and a second. Gosh, I'm listening to the thunder and not paying enough attention. But I think we did. If there are no other comments or questions, we'll proceed to a vote. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. And again, thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
And congratulations to Keith. Thanks to him. So the next appointment, let's just go for the motion, please.
Right.
Gary?
Move to appoint Richard P. Maloney as the Building Commissioner / Zoning Enforcement Officer for a term beginning July 27th, 2021 and ending March 31st, 2022.
Second.
Okay, this one maybe needs a little bit of, we probably know this, the backup, but perhaps Ryan, you or your staff can.
Yeah, so Catherine, I'll turn it over to Jackie. She's been doing the great work and trying to get all this together. And my thanks to her and the team from Hamilton putting this together. But Jackie, could you please speak to this?
Thanks.
Sure.
Jackie.
Thanks, Ryan. I'll be brief because I do want to introduce Mr. Maloney. He is here with us tonight on Zoom. So as folks know, our building inspector took a new position back in March. And Rich Maloney, who is the candidate for appointment tonight, has actually been serving as our backup or interim inspector for several years now with vacation and emergency coverage. And he stepped up again this time around, and he also put in for the joint position. As folks may remember, as of July 1, Hamilton is the new lead for shared inspectional services after this first 3 years where Wenham has been the lead. And the recommendation for Mr. Maloney tonight has already gone through with the Hamilton Select Board. And it was a unanimous recommendation from the screening committee, which included myself, Patrick Graffett from the town of Hamilton, and also the building commissioner from Natick, who sat on our panel as our expert witness, so to speak, in terms of the scope and the nature of the position. And I will say that Rich, having been here in an interim capacity for a little while, already has seen the best and worst of zoning in Wenham and in Hamilton. So, and he still put in for the position, which is good news for us. He's got a breadth of experience and a wealth of knowledge and a really good manner of approaching the job. So I'm really looking forward to him getting to know the community more and for all of you to meet him. And I just want to turn it over to Rich just to say hello if the board doesn't mind.
That'd be great. Welcome, Rich.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jackie, for the kind words. It's been great. I feel like I've been around for a while. It's been over 2 years that I've been helping out. Brian Leith, the former building inspector, was a good friend of mine, and we served on a committee together, and he had asked me to cover his vacation back in early 2019. That's led to this. So thank you for accepting my try at being your building commissioner.
Great. Any questions or comments for either Jackie or Rich?
Good here.
I'll just say thank you. Thank you for coming, Rich, and looking forward to having you on the team.
Excellent.
Thank you, Rich. My one anecdotal comment, which I don't get to make very often, is that I've actually heard from several residents who have been highly complimentary of your work, not only following the rules, but also your manner of working with the townspeople and your attitude, which is much appreciated by the folks that spoke to me. And therefore much appreciated by us. So thank you already. And
Thank you.
don't, like I said, building inspectors don't get a lot of kudos, and because mostly you hear about the bad stuff, but you have, so great. With that, if we're ready to take a vote, I will ask Diane to vote, please.
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And Catherine, yes. I will ask one question, and I think I know the answer that just reminded me. March 31st, is that a building commissioner thing that we do every year? It's an
Yeah,
odd
that's
timing.
correct. It's with the state.
Okay.
Yeah, the state is, so that's why it's off sequence from the other
Yeah.
appointments.
Okay. So we had a unanimous vote, and welcome. Welcome seems kind of a funny thing to say, Rich, but we're glad you're here, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Wow, that's happy to have that position filled permanently, at least for now, I hope. Last appointment of the evening, Gary?
All right, move to appoint Roseanne Brozensky to the Board of Election Registrars for a term beginning July 27th, 2021 and ending March 31st, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
Catherine, I see Trudy's on the call. She may, I don't know if she has anything she would want to add.
Yes, Trudy, please. I'm sorry. I haven't yet figured out a way to see all participants at the same time. So Trudy, if you'd like to say anything on this, we'd be happy to hear you.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I hadn't really planned on saying anything, but Roseanne's been a member of the Board of Registrars for a number of years. And I believe Tom went through the proper protocol of reaching out to the board, party chair committees for their recommendations, and hearing none, we just went ahead and asked for Roseanne to be reappointed, and she was in agreement with that. So I'm happy to have her on board.
Great. If there are not further comments or questions, I will go for a vote. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. So I think we have a complete Board of Registrars now. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Okay, great. The next thing on our agenda is, and we have a guest, I think, for this to speak as well, but it's a discussion and potential vote on the term lengths for the members of the Town Government Study Committee, the 3 to 5 Select Board Member Study Committee. Perhaps we should start off in this case with Patrick Waddell, who is the chair of the Town Government Study Committee, and it's through him that the board is, that his committee is making this request. So hi, Pat.
Hi, Kat. Thank you, Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to thank the board for having me on tonight, and also for appointing Kirsten Alexander to the group at your last meeting. Through an oversight of mine, I did not include her on the invitation to our last meeting, but she is getting caught up to speed now. So this is about extending our terms. When the committee was first formed, our terms were to expire on December 31st of this year. We did not feel that we could thoroughly research the 3 to 5 issue and come to our last town meeting with a thoughtful presentation and recommendation. So we believe that we will be ready for annual town meeting 2022. We put together a roadmap and put it on the website for anyone to view. And I'll just go through the highlights quickly. We've been gathering data. First, we set up and came up with questionnaires that we were going to present to people and gather feedback. We've been gathering the data now, and we plan on finishing the data gathering on August 31st, at which point we'll switch over to analysis and give ourselves 2 months until October 31st to finish the analysis. We will have a public forum, go over pros and cons and getting public input. We plan to have a draft report ready on December 1st. Another public forum to present our findings on January 14th, 2022, and a final report to the select board by February 15th. This time frame, if we recommend no action, this also leaves enough time for a citizen's petition to be filed if someone wants to proceed in that route. So we feel like if we extend our terms past the annual town meeting 2022, we will be able to finish our work and have a thoughtful presentation for the select board and town meeting. And I also want to say welcome to Ryan. I haven't met you in person yet, but welcome aboard, and I hope you stay for a long time and have a prosperous career here.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that.
So I'll just, before we actually make the motion or have discussion, I'm just going to throw an idea out here. I see that the draft motion has been written to extend through ATM for a couple of reasons. My recommendation when we get to this motion will be that we extend the terms of these members through June 30th, 2022, as everyone else, who's appointed. I think that's cleaner. I also think that if this should go to, oh, I love that live editing. Gosh, that's impressive. If this should go to town meeting, there may be some things that are needed to be done after the town meeting, which by giving folks till June 30th would give them a little leeway to clean up some loose ends. So that's my only comment on that. Gary or Diane, do you have comments or questions?
I do. I think that's a great idea, Catherine. I do have a question for Patrick, though. You said something about a schedule or a calendar. You mentioned it last time too, but I can't find it on the website.
Okay, if you go to our page, the Town Government Study Committee, you'll see a link on the left to research documents. And then if you go into the research documents there, one of the documents will be a roadmap. Its title is TGSC_roadmap_2021-0628.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep looking. I don't see it.
Huh.
But that could be just me. So, but I just thought I'd check it, let you know that I couldn't find it. But I do like the idea of extending your terms.
Sure. And I can forward a copy to the board as well.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh,
Ready for the motion?
Sure.
All right. Move to extend the terms for all members of the Town Government Study Committee 3 to 5 Subcommittee through June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Patrick, anything more you want to say or anything anyone else would like to comment on this motion? If not.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Does the board want to have an item for next week's meeting on August 3rd, extending all the current members of this subcommittee through that term limit date? Or do you feel like this is a sufficient enough gesture of making sure all of those people are extended? I don't know if Catherine Tinsley, like that was, I just want to be sure in case we have.
So you're saying an individual motion citing the names of the people and changing their terms. Is that what you're suggesting, Jackie?
I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah.
When I was looking at the draft motions at the beginning of the meeting, I'm saying it out loud just in case anyone else had that thought, but it could be unnecessary.
Well, I hadn't had that thought, but I always look at these motions imagining that I'm looking at them 5 years from now. And are they clear? And I think to add specific names and the extension of those terms for our next meeting would be fine, as long as Gary and Diane agree. I think it's a good suggestion, Jackie. It does clarify things a little bit for posterity.
I think it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing it up, Jackie. I think you really do need to do that because the paperwork and everything, their appointments end on a certain date, and you want to make sure that there's something there that shows each person is on till June 30th.
Great.
So Jackie, do you have online editing available for the names here? Or
I
just
mean,
wait next week?
if you would like to amend the motion, but it wasn't technically on the agenda with the names.
Right.
That's why if I had thought of it, last week, but I didn't, so
Next week then, huh?
cleaner.
Yeah, if we could do that. We do
Right.
have next week. Okay, so that still leaves this as a motion that is valid, that has been made and seconded. And if there are no further questions, we'll vote on this motion, assuming that we're going to have a follow-up, more specific named people appointments for next meeting. So for a vote, Diane,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Catherine, yes. Good luck on the rest of your work, Patrick, and your committee. I've missed the past few meetings. I feel a little out of touch, but I'll get back on them. And thank you for all the work that you've done and will continue to do. We look forward to your reports and your recommendation in the spring.
Thank you very much. And weather update from Mid-Coast Maine is we're awaiting a rain event.
Oh, I spent all of last week in Mid-Coast Maine awaiting rain events. Only about half of them happened. So maybe you'll be that fortunate.
Excellent.
I hope you're enjoying your time. Thank you for taking time out to be with us.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving along, flying through this agenda. The next thing that we have is a review and potential approval of operational amendment to the Shared Inspectional Services IMA. And Ryan, if you or your staff have anything specifically to say about that, that would be great.
I'm going to toss this one over to Jackie as well, because these are just a few tweaks to the agreement. But I think Jackie can speak to the specific reasoning as to why we're making these changes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. So as the board recalls, as I stated earlier, we've transitioned to Hamilton as the lead. What folks may not recall is that we had actually looked to amend the IMA for sharing, changing the lead to Hamilton back in February, and then we needed to wait until we had a full board to be able to take that action legally. So the version of the IMA we're under now, the board only approved in May, but had been on the table in January of 2021 for a potential February approval. So I know it feels like we've just touched this agreement, but I will say that we are only bringing it back because of a couple of operational items. In particular, for example, we still have an available vehicle for the position, as well as the phones that are already set up for these employees. So for an ease of convenience for our residents in terms of keeping the same phone number for these staff members and for the usage of the vehicle, this is just to allow for us to have a credit for the town of Wenham on our reconciliation for the money side of things. So that way, instead of us paying them to do the phones, we'll get a credit on our share to Hamilton for the salary and for the expenses for the use of our phones and our car. Just an operational detail that in the planning process for this transition, we anticipated a couple of items like this, but we weren't sure how they were going to play out. And we find that amending the IMA to allow this reconciliation on the financial side is going to be easier than transitioning all of these physical items and physical phone numbers between the staff and have them switch devices and switch phone numbers. This way they can keep their existing business cards and all of our existing communications, making it easier for residents and contractors that work with these folks on a regular basis to stay connected with them. Otherwise, we've been moving through the transition. Now with Rich appointed as the building commissioner, zoning enforcement official for both communities, he's setting up his new office hours and his new inspection hours, which are already available on our website if folks need them. But that's where we are with these operational changes.
Thank you, Jackie. Questions or discussion on this item? It's not like we haven't seen this IMA before. So I guess we're ready for a motion. I think you probably see that there's a typo there, Gary, but we're ready for a motion on this. I think.
Move to approve the amendment to the Shared Inspectional Services IMA draft dated July 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Thank you for thinking about some of these details. it sounds to me like it's just one paragraph, but it's going to be a lot more efficient and save time, and provide a more straightforward and seamless service to the residents. So thank you for thinking about that, Jackie. And I am presuming that Hamilton has already approved this amendment. Is that true? Okay.
Yes, this one just needed to go through their town manager, based on it just, it's not a policy change so much as at how we're reconciling change. So we did meet last week, Joe and I, to go over all of these details. So we'll get a signed copy from him in the next day or so for you all to sign.
Great. Okay, ready to vote, folks? If so, Diane,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Catherine, yes. So, I guess I don't have that copy, but we have the next on the agenda, a review and potential approval of the annual hazardous waste day contract with the town of Hamilton. This is a late breaking piece of, documentation that we received. I heard about from Brian, just hit his desk yesterday, and we received in an email today. So I'll ask Ryan first if there's anything you'd like to talk about here.
Yeah, as you said, Catherine, it kind of came across my desk late, and so we wanted to have this in place prior to the date of the hazardous waste day. So we're just trying to get this in place, and we're asking for the board's support. So my apologies for not getting it to you sooner.
Questions or comments on this? Again, this is not a new activity, nor is it really a new IMA. I got confirmation that not much has really changed. And, although we like to get these a little sooner, since the hazardous waste day hazardous waste day is scheduled to occur this Saturday, it seems prudent for us to approve or take action on this motion. And if we approve it, I think we're probably going to be asked to go to town hall within the next couple of days to actually sign the document, so it's official and ready for Saturday. But if there are no other comments, Gary, we'll take a motion, please.
All right, move to approve the annual agreement for hazardous waste day with the town of Hamilton dated July 1st, 2021.
Second.
And that the agreement is dated July 1st, 2021, correct? The hazardous waste day is not July. Okay.
Correct.
No, if there are no further comments, we'll proceed to a vote. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. And am I correct? So that's unanimous. Am I correct that you probably have this document? Do you have this document ready for us for our signature?
We will.
So folks, if we can get into town hall in the next day or two, I'm imagining they would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Old business. Update on select board and HR policy revisions, starting with audit of work to date, and then review and potential approval of the select board appointment policy. Ryan, you or Jackie, want to make any comments about this?
Jackie, do you want me to share my screen and see if we can go through it in terms of the policies? I can share it if you want.
Thank you for
Yep, I just
doing
stopped.
this
So you
audit.
should
It's
be able-
helpful.
Okay. All right. Can folks see my screen?
Can you make it a little bigger?
I can.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So Jackie, do you want to go through this and just to give everybody an overview of what we've done today?
Sure, thanks, Ryan. So as the board will recall, we've worked on this list. And on the italicized notes is where we're at with each of these items. So the code of conduct, you've completed your first reading, and we've also received feedback from the Human Rights Committee on July 12th. We are going to return this to the select board during your first September meeting. And as it is going to council for review, along with some other policies and some HR policies. In terms of the select board organization, you have, recently had discussions about this, so we'll have a policy for you for this in early September for a first reading. Same with the select board meetings. Our summer intern, James Gowdy, who I want to give a shout out to for working on this project and sitting down with all of you at different points to get your feedback, has been working on that based on the structure that you've all established over the last couple of weeks. A few meetings ago, you had checked in with one another and said, yes, this is going well. So he's working on that based on the current way we're doing that now. We have a couple on here that are waiting until the annual select board goal setting workshop with Ryan now here. It's very exciting. So those we're kind of saving for that, which include number 4 and number 5. And then we've completed the annual calendar. We have a couple more for the goal setting workshop. We have the appointment policy that hopefully will be completed as of this evening with the final changes. The management and communications and IT setup, that's awaiting your goal setting workshop. I will say that I think we're going to be breaking the communications and the IT into 2 different policies because we have a social media policy and computer use policy already that our staff are subject to as part of our HR policies. So we want to be a little clearer with IT versus communication and make that distinction. And then lastly, the one that we're spending the most time on right now is number 11, which based on other communities, research from Maya, our insurance provider, and from the Mass Municipal Association, we had public events, which included 2 different kind of conceptualizations. We had the public event / use of town property, which we've seen a lot of lately with road closures and events and liquor licenses and things of that nature. And then the use of flags or the flag policy for town property. So we're breaking that into 2 different pieces where there will be a flag policy and then there will be a public event / use of town property policy. And what we're doing for the public events use of town property is actually making a Google form that will start to form that policy so that regardless of if you're a private entity, a nonprofit, a board and committee of the town, or another governmental organization, there's going to be one form on our website, and based on what you're clicking, it'll be a smart form. So based on who you are, it'll be smart enough to know what insurance you have to attach and what other questions we might need to ask about your event. So we'll have that for your early September meeting too. Unfortunately, with the summer, it gets busy with events, so we haven't been able to have this in place in advance of some of these events. We will before we get into the fall events, I assure you. But I think what's good about this form is that every person who's coming in for these different items is going to have the same things to fill out. So hopefully as we go through this, what will be ending up in your packet is going to be a lot more streamlined and you'll have the same information and we'll have the same expectations out there for all of these different entities that come before the board. And then the flag policy, we'll be working, we'll go back to the Human Rights Committee for that policy as well. And they will probably also be a constituent that we work with on the public events policy. James and I are also going to be getting some feedback from the Wenham Museum, the Tea House, and some of the, maybe the Community House, some of the other nonprofits that we work with on a regular basis. Some of our bike ride or, running events that happen in town. We have block parties. And we want to get some feedback from those constituents on the form because we want it to be as user-friendly as possible for the board, as well as these folks asking for these requests. So moving along through this, a lot of plans to get working on this more in August. So we'll have probably a follow-up to this list with where we are with a couple more of these items in September. And you'll have your goal setting session at some point in the next month or 2 as well. So that'll help move this process forward so we can complete this work.
Thank you, Jackie, for all your work and your James's work. And thank you to Gary for sort of kicking us off with this list. Are there any comments that anyone would like to make about the audit as Jackie described? If not, we'll just keep on. But some pretty significant progress. So the next part of this is the appointment policy, a review and potential approval. Recap, if I remember correctly, we approved this policy with the exception of needing an addition of one sort of section, which I think if someone can scroll down, I think that section which speaks to what is the process going to be after someone is appointed is on this policy now. So if anyone has any comments or questions on, I guess, the changes or on the policy in general, please take time to do that now.
Catherine, if I can make one note on this.
Sure.
So so the yellow is the new text to replace the paragraph from before. And I did meet with Town Clerk Trudy Reed, who is also still on the Zoom. So we've gone over this together because this is the moment of where these two departments have a lot of collaboration. So Trudy and I did meet last week, and she this language also works for her as well from the clerk office perspective.
Trudy, since you're here, I'm going to assume that you agree with that.
I do.
Feel free to add anything that you'd like at this point.
Nope, I just reread it to make sure Jackie didn't change it on us, but no, it's good.
Yeah, you got to watch her. She's slippery that
Yeah,
way.
I know.
So for the board, are there comments or concerns or questions? I think this has perhaps already been implemented, but Gary, yes.
Yeah, just note on the second paragraph, second sentence, I think need a couple more words in there. Perhaps after OML, do we need to put in the word training or requirements? And then after notice that the oath must be taken or something, just a little.
Right. I see, like notification.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can make
Ethics,
that-
code of conduct
Jackie can pick that
materials
up
or something.
afterwards. That's fine.
That is a friendly amendment. That's good. No problem.
Diane, do you have anything? I know you have.
I don't. Looks good.
experience
It
with
looks
this.
good to me. Well, as long as both the TA's office and the town clerk's office can work with it, it's perfect.
I think this is great. I'm happy to see it. See these changes on here. I think it's outstanding that we'll be able to provide really timely information to our appointees, and also that there'll be the appropriate documentation and everyone will be aware of what they're required to do once they're appointed. So I have no comments or issues on the changes. I have to say though, I have had a couple of comments, and I'm not sure this will rise to the level of needing a change in the policy, but several people have said, and this is I think a throwback from an older policy that actually required the board or commission committee that was needed a member to interview, or that person needed to get a recommendation. And so we've passed that stage, but I did get a comment that struck me a little bit, that the way we have this structured right now, the committee or commission that has an opening and that someone has put in a letter of interest, the board could actually appoint someone that committee or commission has never heard of, heard the name of, seen, spoken to. And I don't think that was really the intent of the changes, the previous changes that we made. And I'm just wondering, and I support this policy as it is, but I'm wondering if we should be thinking about some kind of notification to the chair of a particular committee that, so-and-so and so-and-so have put in letters of interest and are going to be, on an agenda. If I were a chair of a committee, and this is the comment I got was from a chair of a committee who said, they didn't even know who it was that we appointed, had never heard the name. So I don't know if anybody has any, that resonates with anyone else, or if anyone has any comments, or I don't know, what do you think? Gary?
I think that was a consideration that we had in the original draft. And perhaps looking if we can scroll up to the previous page. It just says where it talks about the town administration will confirm receipt of the application. If you just put in the words and notify the appropriate committee chairman. You see where I'm at? The
Yep. Of the paragraph that starts, applications are due by.
yes. So the second sentence there, it says all applicants will receive a confirmation or receipt of their application from the town administration. And I think you just, if you want, just add the words in, and town administration will notify the appropriate chairman. Because I don't
So-
think we need to, directly solicit input from
Right.
chairman. We don't want to create more administrative steps, but
Right.
we should have that information out there so that the chairman and committee members know about it and take it upon themselves to provide input to us if they want.
That sounds like a good suggestion. I have a question, I guess in general. Where in this process do the letters of interest actually make their way to even the select board? In other words, are we going to tell the chairs of the committees, but the select board not have the same information of who's put in a letter of interest? And does that create an administrative issue for, I guess, a question for Jackie probably?
Yeah, right.
So we didn't have the policy speak to this. For the annual appointments in particular, we do give folks the deadline of May 31st. So you would likely start to see a list within a day or two of May 31st. For the non-regular appointments, we have in past practice tried to send you them in batches. For example, there's been several over the past couple of days that I'm sending out tomorrow because there's just not capacity to send every single one the moment it arrives, but we try to send them in batches of a couple at a time in like the off season, for lack of a better word. So I guess we can send, instead of sending a batch to the board where we send, multiple people for varying boards and committees, we'll just send like, here's the one person for this board and CC the chair when we send it to the select board. Because we only really use that spreadsheet of vacancies during the annual appointment process versus the casual appointment process, the off season. But I don't know if that needs to be explicit in this policy. It's up to the board if you want it to be. I think if you wanted it to be explicit, I would say that it's just an email when the board is notified, an email will also go out to the committee chair the same day, but I don't know that we have to be that explicit.
Well, I think, oh, go ahead, Gary.
No, I see your point that, we do not want the notification to the select board to occur in the packet a couple of days before we vote. But we also want to keep the administrative paperwork as simple as possible. So Jackie, is there, whether it's the spreadsheet or, at some point when the application comes in, is there some way to bomb burst that information out to everybody at the start?
So I think it's different for different times of year. I think for annual appointment season, we've set a deadline of May 31st, and our large list will go to the board via email, and then we can send all the committee chairs a listserv email as well, and ask if they have any input. In terms of the off season, I think it's just sending an email to the board and CCing the chairman of that relevant committee.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's
keeping
it as simple as possible is helpful.
Yeah, I think simple is good. I agree with Gary. I think the letters of interest, or at least contact information, if not the letters of interest, would be important, especially for the chairs, because as Gary said, it's not up to us necessarily to reach out on behalf of a board, but the board just getting a name, a chairman just getting a name, it's not helpful unless they have contact information. So I think if we just, I think Gary's suggestion was pretty generic. All applicants will receive a confirmation of receipt of their application from town administration. Maybe we just say, and just add there.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can do that.
Just a couple of words indicating that.
Notify the appropriate committee/board chairpersons.
Yeah, I think some of our boards would appreciate that, and hopefully that, if that, as in any of these policies, as we implement them, if they are creating some kind of a logjam or backup or difficulty from an administrative point of view, I totally think that we should revisit them and see what we need to do to, make them clearer or easier. So this kind of fits in that category.
Good.
Okay, other comments or questions on that?
Do we need a motion on this, or are we?
Yeah, I think we're hoping to, well, do we have a motion on this?
Yep.
Yes, we do. And I guess the motion, the only difference would be is that we've made a few amendments that have been noted by the administration. So we do have a motion, Gary.
All right. Is it coming
you
up
got
on
it?
the screen, or do I wing it here?
No, it's under old business G on our PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, yes, got it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a few pages back.
Scroll back and forth.
Yeah.
All right. I move to approve the select board appointment policy dated 22 July 2021 as amended.
Second.
Second.
Sorry, I was watching the live thing.
I know. I know. It's great. It's very distracting, but amazing. Especially for these short things. I will say I've watched entire documents being edited live on Zoom, and that's a little bit painful, but this is great. So we have a motion and a second, and we understand a few amendments. Are we ready to vote on this one? I personally am going to, I don't drink champagne, but if I did, I would have a glass of champagne because I'm very excited that we're about to have, I think, an appointment policy in place. So if I may, I will take a vote, please, from Diane.
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine, yes. So unanimous, and thank you all for your patience with that. So we move on to our last item, which might take a second or two longer than usual, not reasonably anticipated by the chair, sort of fits. So normally Gary would remind me, and I'm going to try to remember this time, to discuss our next meetings. So we do have a scheduled meeting next Tuesday, August 3rd. And then, and we'll talk about it in a second, for a variety of reasons, medical, vacation, weddings, etc., we don't have the ability to have another meeting from the 9th to the Labor Day. So after August 3rd, we don't have a scheduled meeting until after Labor Day, which I'd like to take a minute to talk about. I know it's well in advance, but before that, I had a thought when I was looking at this, scary, I know, when I was looking at this particular item, and that is that I wonder if it would be beneficial. We will have to schedule a goal setting workshop. We know that, and that will be in September, one of our first meetings. But I'm with so much on everyone's plates. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, I'm wondering if we couldn't take an hour even or two, perhaps, I guess there's only 1 or 2 Friday mornings left before we scatter a bit, to look at a list of some short-term activities that might be happening before we have our goal setting, not really goals, but activities, things that Ryan and Jackie are aware of and things that we might want to add. If we are interested in taking an hour or so to look at that list so that August can be as productive as we hope it can be, and folks are working on things that we all agree are important to be working on before we get to our goal setting meeting. Thoughts?
Sounds fine with me. When did you want to meet?
Well, I can only, I'm thinking of Friday morning because I know, but a Friday because I think you're off on Fridays. And that does kind of narrow it down to Friday, August 6th. Maybe, 8 to 9:30, something fairly early so folks have the rest of their day, and would have to, come up with a list beforehand and then we could just discuss it on that morning. Does that A, sound like a reasonable idea? Thank you, Diane. But does it sound like a reasonable idea to you, Gary? And then are folks going to be available on the 6th in the morning? Yes. Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, so I'm available anytime. Just quick question, is the room available so we can do our dry run on the new technology at the same time?
That's a question that only Jackie and Ryan can answer.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. So we do need to do a dry run. So it depends on the availability of the cable team. So we can check in with them, Gary, and get back to you on that.
Right. So no, that's not a requirement. So I'm available anytime.
Okay.
Whatever time is 8
Yeah,
to
so
4 for the staff.
Yeah, I guess I'll throw it out to the staff in particular, and it could be this Friday, the 30th, same time, 8 to 10 or something like that, or it could be next Friday, the 6th. And now that we seem to be in agreement that it's a good idea, Ryan, can I ask you to just check? We really, it really needs to be the board and you, Ryan, and certainly Jackie is welcome to attend, but I don't think we need any other staff, require any other staff for this particular meeting. So shall we tentatively set it for the 6th and make sure that works for everyone? And
If I may, can we check with Catherine Tinsley as well for minutes taking purpose?
Oh, yes, Catherine.
I'm good. A little early, but I'm good.
And it's a little early for me too, but I feel like if we get it out of the way in the morning, we won't interrupt people's day too much. Thank you, Jackie, for thinking about that.
And Catherine,
I just always assume Catherine's available. Not fair.
Catherine H, just to add to that, so we also talked about where each of the board members may have a list of different things that they may have individually that they'd like to talk about. If I could have all board members send me what they think that list should look like, then maybe we can do some consolidation if there are overlapping items, things of that nature, and use that as a as a basis to have that discussion on the 6th. So we will have that input in hand so that we're not just coming up with it, winging it, if you will.
That sounds like a good idea.
If that's acceptable to everybody, just think about what you want to see with a special focus on August. Again, where we're not going to be meeting as frequently, send those to me. We'll put the list together and we'll have it for discussion on the 6th.
Okay, sounds great. So the short-term things, because this doesn't preempt our workshop, but and just a quick question on September, if we can put our heads that far ahead. So we know that the first Tuesday in September would normally be a meeting for us, the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of the month. It is the day after Labor Day, and it is also Rosh Hashanah. So in knowing that, we'll think about this and come up with it next week, but I'd ask you to think about when you think we should have our first meeting. The first Tuesday that sounds like it might be reasonable is the 14th of September, but we could choose for that particular meeting a different day if we wanted to keep it during that week. So just keep that in mind, and we'll put that maybe on the agenda for next week to just discuss. And then we can also talk about when we can have our workshop, which again, I think would probably be one of those early, I'm going to say again, Friday morning kind of meetings. So folks would think about those dates in September. I think that might help the scheduling. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody, Gary, Diane, have anything further? Ryan? No, if not, we'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
And, okay, and we'll take a roll call vote on that. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
yes.
Catherine? Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your work and your attendance here tonight. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon. And we'll see everyone next week. Yes.
A
Jackie?
reminder for the board, we've got an AP warrant ready for you to sign, as well as the documents from tonight, if you have a moment.
Thank you for the
Will
reminder.
do.
Yeah, my husband, actually, I mentioned this to my husband tonight and he said, well, just sign them at the meeting. That's not what you always do.
Yeah.
I said, if you've forgotten, we haven't actually had an in-person meeting, but it is, by the way, what we normally do. And it works a lot better when we're all sitting at the meeting and we've approved things and the forms are there and we sign them and we're done. But yes, thank you for the reminder, Jackie. We'll remember to come in. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.